was killed in attack. Security has been heightened in Anantnag. Major sweeps happening as the intelligence grid continues to do its work. Hunt is on for the terrorists. The perils of the age of artificial intelligence. Take a look at this. OpenAI and its agent goes rogue in a security test. Hacks AI startup Hugging Face. Incident sparks attention to the risks of advanced artificial intelligence. Just days after the Parliament Chalo March, the story is no longer just about protests now. It has now become a test of politics, of governance, of accountability and dialogue, which seems to be missing here. The agitation that began over the NEET paper leak has now moved far beyond the streets of the national capital. We've got visuals from the length and breadth of the country, in Kolaba, in Patna, in Manipur, protests everywhere. And it is also happening inside the parliament. It is before the courts. It has drawn the country's principal opposition into the battle, and for the first time, there are tentative signs that the centre may be willing to engage with the protesters. But the CJP spokesperson say it has to happen at a neutral venue, not at JP Nadda's residence. The government today indicated its readiness to hold a discussion in the parliament on the NEET paper leak issue. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju made that announcement in the Lok Sabha, whilst Union Ministers JP Nadda and Dr. Jitendra Singh met activist Sonam Wangchuk, who remains on an indefinite hunger strike after being shifted to the Medanta hospital. Listen in to what the Parliamentary Affairs Minister had to say today.
सरकार नीट पेपर लीक का चर्चा के लिए पूरी तरह से तैयार है और हमने पहले दिन से कहा है, जब चर्चा होती है तो किसी नियम के तहत होना पड़ता है और इसका व्यवस्था बनाना पड़ता है। मैं अनुरोध करता हूं कि चर्चा कब होना है, चर्चा का ड्यूरेशन, कितना लंबा चर्चा होना है और किस नियम के तहत होना है। माननीय स्पीकर महोदय, सारे पार्टी के फ्लोर लीडर से बातचीत करके इसका निर्णय किया जाए। सरकार पूरी तरह से नीट पेपर लीक पे चर्चा करने के तैयार है और इस देश के युवाओं का भविष्य के लिए हम सब मिलकर के एक सार्थक चर्चा हो, ये सरकार चाहती है।
So the parliament is set for the NEET leak debate, but Rahul Gandhi later on said the ball is in the opposition's court, because at the same time, the politics around the movement has intensified. Rahul Gandhi addressed a press conference earlier in the day, accusing the government of failing India students and demanding accountability over repeated examination irregularities. He said the problem and the issues that are being raised are absolutely legitimate. He claimed that more than 152 to be precise, paper leaks have taken place in the last decade and have affected crores of young Indians, and reiterated the opposition's demand for the resignation of the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. Listen in to what the students are demanding via Rahul Gandhi.
The first demand, completely legitimate demand, is that Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, who has failed as an education minister, who is known to be corrupt, should be relieved of his duties. Second demand, every single person who raised a finger on our students, and it doesn't matter who he is, the people who ordered it and the people who executed it should be made accountable. And the third thing is that the man who is running this entire system, the man who is finally accountable to all this, should have the decency to apologize to the students for what has happened.
But perhaps the most emotional moment today came not from a political leader, but from Sonam Wangchuk himself. Writing from his hospital bed, Wangchuk said, "I want to live. I want to return to my students." He said he was willing to end his fast, but only if the government assures that students and young protesters will face no retaliatory legal action and that democratic protest will not be criminalized. Meanwhile, the legal battle is gathering pace as well, ladies and gentlemen. The Delhi High Court has sought responses from both the centre and the Delhi police on the allegations of excessive force during the 20th of July march and has directed authorities to preserve the CCTV footage and all available video evidence. The Supreme Court, however, has declined an urgent hearing on a plea challenging the police action, saying it was not inclined to take up the matter immediately. Lots of criticism on the social media on that front as well. And if we were to take you 2 months back, it was the CJI's comment about cockroaches that gave birth to this online satirical political campaign, which reached that crescendo that we saw on the 20th of July. And even as these legal proceedings unfold, the Delhi police, having registered 10 FIRs linked to the protest, security remains tight across the capital. But CJP at this point in time is saying that even as we sit at the Jantar Mantar, lots of security lapses. The bag checking machine quietly vanished from the Jantar Mantar site. The volunteers themselves are carrying out security, and we all know the kind of people that are joining in, the crowd that is swelling up at the Jantar Mantar site. So the biggest question is whether dialogue is finally within reach. Both the sides are willing to talk about it, but on whose terms and where exactly? The centre reportedly reached out for talks through JP Nadda. The CJP says it is willing to engage, but not behind closed doors or at a minister's residence. It has instead proposed a neutral venue near the Jantar Mantar, insisting that any discussion must be meaningful and capable of producing concrete outcomes, not merely symbolic optics. So, where does this movement stand? And where do we go? That's one of the fundamental questions tonight. The protests continue. Parliament has entered the conversation. The courts have begun examining the aftermath. Politics is now fully invested. Both sides, they say they're open to dialogue, but trust remains in short supply. And the crucial question now is whether this movement is approaching a negotiated breakthrough or whether India is heading towards another phase of confrontation. Let's bring in our panelists. Credible voices with us. Professor Rajiv Lochan, author. Many thanks, Professor, for taking out the time yet again. And Advocate Manasvi Thapar, political analyst, with us on the broadcast. Professor, yesterday could not spend as much time with you. I want to give you the opening comment here. The movement, it has survived political action. It has survived action from the police, the excesses, people are calling it, multiple FIRs, heavy security, metro stations locked down, Instagram accounts withheld, all restored at this point in time as well. But what do you think is keeping the momentum alive? One thing is, of course, the crowd at Jantar Mantar. But what's the main factor and reason behind it? Compared to just 2 days ago, Professor, how different do you think is the mood at Jantar Mantar, even if you haven't visited yourself and you're looking at just, live videos and social media posts?
Actually, I visited the place and I've had a first-hand idea of what's going on. The people over there are very genuinely concerned with whatever errors the government has committed. The errors which the government committed this was the third time that there was a problem with the NEET papers. NEET is a highly competitive exam.
Yep.
And this time the error was at the end of the paper setters. So who selected these paper setters? Teachers who were so corrupt that they leaked out the papers which they were setting while they were setting the paper, they were leaking it. Now that is within the academic system. That is supposed to be corruption of the highest order. The highest possible punishment is necessary for that. So who was the person who selected these teachers?
These are NTA experts, by the way, Professor. The designation that was given to them were NTA experts. So when the students are demanding a complete repeal and a scrapping of the National Testing Agency, do you think that's a legitimate ask at this point in time?
No, that is, the students are not aware of why the NTA came in the first place. The birth of the NTA resides in helping students out, making things better for everyone. So my own son has gone through this entire process. I'm familiar with it at first hand and how it spreads over a period of 10 years. It's not just when you appear after school, you have to appear for a similar exam even after you finished your MBBS. And these exams are tough exams. These exams have to be done in a systematic manner and with great responsibility. However, the people who were appointed examiners, they seem to be completely and absolutely compromised. The process of setting the question paper was absolutely compromised. Normally, in all other exams where MCQs are asked, MCQs come out from a bunch of questions. They do not, one single person does not sit down and set them up. Here it was what was happening. So that was a previous error, and whoever is the person, and all these persons turned out to be somehow connected with the RSS also. So there is a small problem coming up at that end as well. Having said that, the main thing is that it's not just the students, but everyone else in the country who is slightly worried ki kya ho raha hai. So on the one side, the education system has been created such that there are these artificial scarcities. People want to study medicine, but not enough medical colleges are there. The government makes laws which says that you cannot set up a medical college. Till very recently, you could not set up a medical college unless you had a 10-acre compound. We have had medical colleges being de-recognized because they did not have a basketball field. Now, these are absolutely silly and stupid kind of rules and regulations. Those rules and regulations have been changed recently. However, the spirit that people can set up colleges, can expand education without the government's interference, that has not happened yet. The government continues to interfere in education all the time. Now, please remember, the NTA is a good thing. Having a unified test is a good thing. These things happened because there was a demand from the side of students. There was a requirement from the side of the students that a singular test be held. So the NTA needs to be there. It needs to function properly. But where the number of seats and the number of colleges is concerned, the government really needs to get out of that system.
I mean, those are exactly the reforms that the students are talking about at Jantar Mantar. I mean, you visited, the protest site yourself. I'm going to come back to you, Professor. Many thanks for your opening submissions. Advocate, how significant is Sonam Wangchuk's latest letter? Have you been able to go through it? Does it suggest the protesters are looking for a dignified exit? Is this simply confidence-building measure? Is this simply political optics? What do you make of this letter that we have?
I think it's a mix of everything. And I think that the most concerning fact is the government is not listening to anyone. The government is into optics. The government is not understanding the gravity of the present situation. They are saying that we manage kar lenge. These are not opposition MPs or MLAs. You can buy them. These are Gen Zs. And they don't care you come from which political party. When their mind is, you would have considered that this was a meme party. You would have considered that this was a meme protest. This could not. I think this is what have never happened in the last 12 years of BJP. This kind of a massive movement without a political support, without a political funding, without anything. You can't say that. Obviously, BJP spokesperson and BJP sympathizers would say that these are coming from Aam Aadmi Party or anywhere else. But the reality of the matter is these are Gen Zs. They are coming by their own self, and you would hit them, and that is where what is burning really out. How can you hit me? First of all, my paper is getting leaked. Then I question you. Then I want a resignation from your minister who's at the helm of everything. And then you're hitting me. So Gen Zs will not take it. You and I would take it. We will simply go back to our homes maybe. But these Gen Zs don't care about these things. They want instant. These are the times of Blinkits and Zomatos wherein the delivery is instant. So they want justice system, delivery system also to be instant. Why are we delaying the justice? This is not something which is Rahul Gandhi could not gather this kind of momentum in last 12 years. Aam Aadmi Party could not gather this kind of momentum in their significant years from 2013.
Now that you've mentioned that, Advocate, what do you make of Rahul Gandhi's press conference? Because just after that, and mind you, I think JP Nadda, the Union Health Minister, who's been delegated this responsibility of reaching out to the CJP, he might be addressing the media in just a short while. Firstly, do you think that response is going to be to Rahul Gandhi's press conference today, or is it going to be a response to the CJP and the protesters sitting at Jantar Mantar?
If they respond to Rahul Gandhi, that would be a political mistake. because Rahul Gandhi is the leader of opposition. He's just taking the energies of the CJP protesters to a conclusion, or trying to get towards a conclusion. But if you are still thinking that you have to answer Rahul Gandhi and not the protesters, I think that's a heavy mistake, and that is going to go a long way against BJP if they don't address the problem. What is the root cause of the problem? What is the moot problem which we are facing? It is the paper leak. Everything else is just to divert each one of us, and then we would say that they are hijacking, XYZ is hijacking, all the followers of CJP are bots, are from Pakistan, are from Bangladesh. These are just diversionary tactics. But the reality of the matter, the common minimum program, or not even the program, the problem here is designation of Dharmendra Pradhan, because he has failed as an education minister. That is the only problem. You give a resignation. Why can't we get a resignation?
It doesn't seem like that's happening, because the Union Education Minister, according to all the news agency feeds that are being beamed inside the newsrooms, he's already attending a conclave where the state education ministers and Union Territories education ministers, they're holding a conclave about the central schemes. But Professor, if talks do happen between the centre and the Cockroach Janta Party and the stakeholders here, all major of them, what would constitute a meaningful confidence-building measure from both sides? What would constitute any kind of meaningful talks that, hey, look, the train is moving from this station. We don't know about the speed, but it is getting somewhere.
A while ago, you had talked about trust. At the moment, trust is missing absolutely and completely. Therefore, for the government to talk to the CJP people, to the people who are holding a dharna, addressing a crowd, that would be one of the most serious errors that the government can make. Whether it is the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, or any representative of the government, coming there to talk to these people would be politically incorrect. It would be morally incorrect, because the proper representative of India, the proper representative of the concerns of Indians, are the MPs and the Parliament. This discussion needs to happen in the Parliament. How the government manages to drive away the protesters from Jantar Mantar, that is for the government to handle. On that, I know that talking is not going to help. You would remember Sheila Dikshit had gone to talk to the protesters in 2012, the Nirbhaya protesters.
Yeah.
And that only emboldened everyone, and it created greater gadar over there. The thing at the moment to do is to somehow cool tempers and push these people away. Pushing them away will be the more appropriate thing for the government to do. The government, however, also needs to be very open-minded about talking about these things in the Parliament. Also, the government needs to show some very distinct dramatic action. At the moment, that distinct dramatic action is missing. This today, Rahul Gandhi's press conference, Rahul Gandhi very clearly said he didn't hold Dharmendra Pradhan responsible. He said Dharmendra Pradhan is a symbol. So making Dharmendra Pradhan a symbol and punishing Dharmendra Pradhan for that, I think would be very unfair to Dharmendra Pradhan. But the government needs to figure out who ki kiska gala retna hai. That is something which is very important for the government.
It seems like, according to the Prime Minister, sir, at that NDA Milan meet right ahead of the first parliamentary session at the beginning of this monsoon session, the Prime Minister made it quite clear that the culprits, there should be strict punishment for them. But I think it's already too late for that, isn't it?
The Prime Minister said about the teachers who had set those papers.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister did not talk about the people who allowed this mess to happen.
No, I understand where you're coming from. He spoke about the people, he spoke about all the arrests that were made in 2024 as well.
He did not. The Prime Minister did not talk about the people who allowed this mess to happen. And that is why the CJP is going on and on about Dharmendra Pradhan being sacked. Sacking Dharmendra Pradhan obviously will amount to a very major political victory for the opposition and a major political loss for the Prime Minister. So that's a political question which the BJP will have to deal with. The main thing over here will always remain that the tempers which are running so high, these tempers somehow need to be moderated. And how that the government is able to do, at the moment, I would not advise the government on doing anything on that.
Okay. All right. Advocate, considering you're from the legal fraternity yourself, the CJI, what he said today, that obiter dicta comment about we're not bothered about the videos, there's a lot of criticism on that on social media as well. It all started with an obiter dicta, in a case where he spoke about cockroaches, and look where we are at today. So would you like to throw some light on that? The criticism that that comment is facing on social media about police brutality and the videos that the lawyer was trying to show, and that the CJI said, we don't have time for this?
I think in today's time, as I told previously also, when Gen Zs have so much habitual with instant, everything instant, they want instant justice also. And accordingly, we also have to make our temperaments that way. As someone coming from the legal fraternity, I understand Gen Z's pain point. They have seen so much of technology. They have seen so many things instantly happening for themselves. And they want that kind of justice also. They want that kind of truth, honesty and transparency in our system. I don't think that is something wrong. If they are on road, if we, while sitting in our AC offices, can comment easily, but our Gen Z, our future of our country is on road, is protesting, is asking for basic rights. A basic right is we want a free and fair examination to be conducted, and those people who cannot conduct it should resign. That's a simple thing which these Gen Zs are asking, and that is the reason this protest is happening. And we, as the largest democracy of the world, are allowing the fact that an inefficient minister should continue while thousands and lakhs of students are on roads today. This protest has just not been at Jantar Mantar today. It is across our country. So that is the kind of boiling blood which we are facing because Gen Zs are not getting their right to speak up. They have been tear gas have been thrown on them. They have been hit. Lathi charge have happened. Girls have torn clothes on them because of these people. So this is something which is bizarre, and I don't think that anyone. I think the biggest concern, the biggest burning point of my country today is Gen Z and the protest which is happening. And we need to conclude this. We cannot have a La Land country. We cannot have a banana republic in India. We cannot allow this. And this has not been created by Gen Z. This has been created by the government themselves. They cannot do what they are doing it. And it is shameful at all the counts. You cannot let this happen in our country. If a problem is there, why do you want Sonam Wangchuk to die? Just go there and ask what is the problem and why do you need to, I ask this question to myself, why do you even need to ask anyone? You know, since 2014, 70 plus paper leaks have happened. And the reason is we have a corrupt system in education system. Why don't we address that? More than 2 crore youth who have given this examination have been affected because of that corrupt structure. Why don't you address it? Because you want to save some kind of education mafia in the country or your friends in the country. That will not be tolerated now by the youth because they're so active on social media. They're so concerned about themselves and their future, and they're asking questions in a democracy. Had it been we were not a democracy, it would have been okay, but we are still a democracy. And in a democracy, asking a question, protesting is the right. But what government is doing, that is not a rightful way to tell what they want to tell to our youth.
Yep. Professor, you spoke about the missing trust over here. We also have visuals today, courtesy the Cockroach Janta Party. They put it out on their social media handles. So again, we're giving the credit for proper corroboration if it is needed by independent viewers. Jantar Mantar protest site, there is no security there anymore. I mean, I remember visiting the site last week. There was proper rapid action force deployment. There was Delhi police that was there. The smallest of bags had to go through that scanner. There was a sticker that was placed on those bags, even the water bottles being checked. Now, all of that has gone away. This is what the Cockroach Janta Party claims. And if this is true, don't you think this is not auguring well for the Delhi police?
It's actually not auguring well for the people who are sitting over there, because my suspicion is that soon the Delhi police in a day or two will take rather harsh action, and the courts will stand in support of that harsh action. Subsequently, the courts will say that disproportionate force has been used and we condemn everything. The rest of us will also make the same statements. What will happen is that the handful of young people will have to suffer a lot because of this. As far as the government and the problem is concerned, the discussion will happen in the parliament. It cannot happen in the open anywhere. And if the discussion is happening in the parliament tomorrow or day after tomorrow, then this protest people is they will be
Do you
trouble.
think the opposition is
Also,
going to let that discussion happen? Today, Rahul Gandhi said the ball is in the opposition's court. What's your opinion on that?
we'll keep the fingers crossed and wait for things to happen. What I do know is that unlike the farmers' agitation, which I've seen very closely, in this particular agitation, the organizers have not set up security systems. In the farmers' agitation, the organizers had set up very strong security systems. Outsiders and mischief makers were kept at bay. But over here, if you have remember, yesterday the visuals that were coming, a number of outsiders, people who were not youth at all, people who had weapons in their hands,
Yeah.
not the police people, people with Dadi Mooch, these people were the ones who were doing violence. The normal youth was only being beaten up and behaving in a Gandhian fashion and getting beaten up little more. The normal police wala was simply being beaten by the protesters. But the mischief makers were very clearly visible, and the mischief makers have not been identified by the police or by the protesters. At the moment, the protesters have no system by which to identify such mischief makers. And by tomorrow, some of these mischief makers will actually start coming in, infiltrating the site and creating some mischief. What will be the nature of mischief? I will not be able to say that.
All right. Advocate, your final closing comments. Of course, we'll wait for what JP Nadda has to say, and this is clearly a developing story. And the questions are going well beyond one protest or one political confrontation. Do you think this deadlock is going to continue, or we're going to see some meaningful negotiation take place between the protesters and the center?
See, I feel that JP Nadda is not the right person to negotiate. I think it has to,
Who is
Prime
then?
Minister
Who is
has
then?
to step in.
Who is then?
Prime Minister, with this kind of protest, which has never been happened during the NDA Sarkar since 2014, I think, and Gen Z, who have been the first voter, and Prime Minister himself have very strongly said.
But what do you make of the point
first...
that Professor Lochan was just saying? It's not right at the moment. You know, the government pushing them away and beginning a talk in the parliament seems to be the more prudent way to go.
I think the best way forward for the government to safeguard their face today would be immediate resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan and taking accountability, taking responsibility of what has happened. And the four demands of CJP or the protesters are not a very big demand. I think that is something which this government can or any government in our country could easily do away with. And I think that is what they need to do it. I feel immediate resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan is the only way moving forward towards the negotiation. If there is a negotiation to happen, I think the first step is, and the only step which I see forward for protest to end, is a resignation from Dharmendra Pradhan. And after that, I think other things can be discussed and negotiated, a system can be created. But right now, the burning question and everyone is on the protest streets is because of Dharmendra Pradhan's arrogance attitude and the government's attitude of that we will not let a minister go away this way and you can't burden us or you can't ye dhamki humko nahi de sakte. This attitude has to go. This is a change of
No, I understand all that
country.
you're saying, Advocate. I understand all those are pertinent points and, you know, considerations that have been brought onto the table by the protesters as well. But Professor Lochan also said that, you know, Dharmendra Pradhan being the symbol of the problem and, you know, terminating the symbol of the problem might not be eradicating the problem from its root cause in the first place. But, you know, then again, Professor, you've got to understand where Advocate Thapar is also coming from, with the Gen Z that he's talking about are coming from as well. What do you make of that, Professor?
This is going to go on for some time. Maybe in a day or two it will get resolved. So we'll wait and see how things develop. At the moment, the government is doing the right thing, and the opposition is also doing the right thing, and the CJP people are doing things as they understand those things. The CJP is best advised to just pack up their bags and go. They've made their point. Their point has been well heard by everyone, and now there is no reason for them to stick around.
But then the conversation doesn't go, you know, any further, sir. If they were to pack their bags and go away.
The conversation doesn't happen with the CJP. The conversation happens with the MPs and in the parliament. CJP,
So you're saying the CJP, the Cockroach Janta Party that wanted to be the catalyst, they've done their job. They have brought, the issue is on the anvil. Now let the big players take care of this.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
The catalyst is not the chemical reaction. No?
I agree. I understand. But could it not be that CJP is also a proponent or a component of that chemical reaction? Could that not be?
No. The CJP has no such role. The CJP does not have the trust of the people of India. The CJP does not represent the people of India.
But wouldn't the visuals, I mean, I'm just being the devil's advocate here, Professor. Wouldn't the visuals tell us something different? If they did not have the trust of the people of the country, why would people from, various walks of life, from hundreds of kilometers away, traveling overnight to join? I mean, look at some of those emotional stories.
It is just about all right. Remember, this is a country with 1.4 billion people. Collecting a few thousand people is यानी बाई हाथ का खेल होता है. Since I've been in this business of collecting people, I know it's not a very difficult thing to do.
Are you saying the standards of rebellion have gone down so much that just a mere gathering of 10,000 people, we think that this is another revolution that's on the cards, but that's not the case?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, all right. I've completely run out of time here.
That is what it is.
I've completely run out of time here. You can vouch on News9 to bring you all the latest when it comes to JP Nadda's, press conference. And it's again going to be important to see what Advocate Manasvi Thapar was talking about. And Professor, whether JP Nadda is going to be responding back to Rahul Gandhi, the big players, the actual chemical components of this reaction, or is it going to be a response to the protesters that are continuing to sit at Jantar Mantar, claiming that protest site, making this protest their own? And a big player in all of this, Sonam Wangchuk, 25 days of hunger strike. He's at Medanta Hospital. He's urged the union government, and he's also saying that the government has reassured him of all those promises. Whether he goes back to the students and how soon and what kind of a reaction that really gives way to. The bigger question is whether dialogue will now replace confrontation and how soon. Professor Lochan said the MPs now have to do the job in the parliament, but Rahul Gandhi today said, and it looked like my limited assessment would be, he did not want the parliament to start functioning just so soon and just yet. And another, aspect to look at in all of this, Advocate and Professor, is that if they pack up their bags and go away, what's stopping the goldfish memory of this multitude to stop thinking about this and get on with our lives and go back to the same cogwheel that we've gotten so used to? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here. On that note, many thanks, Advocate Manasvi Thapar. Many thanks, Professor Lochan. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Good to have a longer conversation with you today. Can accountability be pursued without further escalation? Will dialogue give way to confrontation or the other way around? And can India protect both democratic dissent that we saw on the 20th of July with some fringe elements and those mischief creators, and public order hanging in the balance? Can both of these sustain? Can we have both of these on the Libra scales at the same time? That's where we leave this discussion tonight. All right then, shifting our focus here, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another story for you. But before that, a quick commercial breather. This is about Donald Trump's 200% tariffs starting 2029 on the Indian generics pharma. We're called the global pharma of the world. Will we be able to ride that particular threat? That's coming right on the other side. Don't worry.